I'm a tone chaser. That thing you hear in your head that you just can't quite get.
Hello, YouTube tone chasers. Hope you're good. So this is a very rare interview with assistant engineer Ken Deane, who was deeply involved in the building of 5150 Edward Studio, has been a longtime partner of Don Landy, and this may be the only interview he's ever done. If there's another one out there, I don't know about it, and apologies to anybody who did interview Ken, but this is a rare one. I interviewed Ken back in August 1985, again when I was working on the original Van Halen Edwards authorized biography, and we sat down in 5150 and we talked for a while. This is going to be a two-parter. I ran into Ken a lot up at 5150, man. He was always there. Jokingly, he was from the Mount Baldy Lodge. Ken lived in Mount Baldy, which was, I don't know, 2 hours from where Edward's studio was. So he'd come in early in the morning and just drive back out late at night, basically living at 5150. But he was an amazing guy, an important part of Edward and Edward's pursuit of the ultimate tones on albums, obviously a very close partner with Don Landy. And so here you go, part one of Ken Deane. Hope you dig it. Bye.
Basically, when did you first start working with Ed?
When they started the studio here. It was September. It's been almost 3 years now.
So September 80.
September of 80, I guess. One, right around there.
But you had worked with Don previously?
Yeah, Don, I worked at Warner Brothers I worked there for almost 12 years, and Don was there also.
Really?
So we'd worked together all that time.
What did you do at Warner's?
I was a staff engineer.
You were? So you worked with Don on projects?
Yeah, a lot of Doobie Brothers stuff, and Nicolette Larson, those things.
Did you work on the Nicolette album that Ed came and played on? Didn't Ed do one solo on one record?
I worked on, the one that I worked on with Don was In the Nick of Time. I think Ed did play something on that. But Don was doing overdubs in one room, and I was doing vocals with Nicolette in the other.
I see.
Because they were behind her, so I don't know what it was. But.
So, I mean, do you remember the first time you met Don?
Not after 12 years. It's been a long time, no. I just knew him from Warner's.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, what was he like to work with?
He was fine. He was no problem.
Yeah.
We've always hit it off. A lot of people, I guess other people have had problems with him or thought they did.
Yeah.
But he's just real meticulous.
Yeah, I can imagine a lot of people not being able to deal with that.
Yeah. They didn't know how to handle it.
Yeah. So when Don called you and said, listen, Edward Van Halen's building a studio and we want you to come work.
Yeah, I was with Warner Brothers, and I ran into a corporate crunch. They had to let a couple of people go.
Oh.
Which I can't say on the tape why I got laid off, but it was dirty.
It was?
Yeah. There was a kid where I'd been there 12 years, and another kid had been there 5.
Mm-hmm.
They let me go, but his daddy was executive vice president and treasurer.
Mm-hmm.
So
that helps.
It wasn't a lot, it helped out.
As long as we're not dealing with nepotism, it's okay.
It was unbelievable timing, actually. It was weird because they told me on a Friday, my boss called me and told me that that was it. And I talked to Don a couple of days later, and he says, "You want a job?" He said, "I can't believe it either." It was, he wanted somebody up here, and he and I had always, like I said, we could deal with each other.
Yeah, yeah. So what were you brought in as? I mean, what was your function here to be?
To build the studio with Don.
To build the studio.
Yeah.
Where did your knowledge of that come from?
Just through the years, I guess. I worked for United Western Recorders, and I went to Liberty Records, and I went to Warner Brothers Records. When I went to Warner's, they had just gotten the studio then, but they were rebuilding them and redoing them, so I worked in that, building those studios at Warner's.
Mm-hmm. And so you and Don tended to have the same ideas about what kind of sounds you
Pretty much, yeah. I don't know if it's the same ideas necessarily. We just seemed to be able to work together real easy. Mm-hmm. There was no problem with communications.
Mm-hmm.
If he wanted something, we just did it. And
right.
I could pretty much know what he wanted.
Right. Right. So, do you remember the first time you met Ed?
No, I was with Warner's then. I recorded them in New York. A live thing at Syracuse and Rochester, 2 live shows. That was the
Really?
first time I met the band.
Really?
Yeah.
What, just for a live
It was for a
broadcast or
video.
something?
For video.
Oh, the videos.
Yeah.
Do you remember which videos they were?
I don't know. It was a live thing. One was in Syracuse, and the other one was at War Memorial up in Rochester.
Huh.
And I went back on the remote track and recorded that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember what he was like? I mean, you remember?
They were real nice. They were great.
Were they?
Yeah, they were a lot of fun. And nice people.
Yeah.
It was, in fact, after the show one night, they filmed them leaving, going out and getting in the car and stuff, and they wanted me to run out and get in the limo with them. I said, no, I've got to do this. They're real good guys. They're real nice. I like all of them.
So, I mean, Ed is someone that, I mean, how would you describe him, if you could?
I don't know. He's a special friend to me. I mean, not just because I work for him, but he's a good person inside, I think. One of the nicest I've met, and some of the things that they've done, the thing with, when they finally made it big enough and stuff, they went to their dad and told him he was if he was off work, and he said, no, he wasn't. They said, yes, you are. You're not working anymore,
Mm-hmm.
Not many people do that.
Yeah.
And they told their parents, you took care of us, now it's our turn,
Mm-hmm.
That's class to me. That's real people.
Right. Right. Right.
And they've always been good friends.
So what is it like around Ed when he's working? I mean, when he's composing, is there a change? Is he?
No, not really. I don't see any change in him at any time. I mean, he's pretty much the same as far as I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm.
He and Don mainly do most of the stuff in there, so I don't go in a lot of times when they're working stuff. I just leave them alone.
Mm-hmm.
Ed seems to be a little quiet that way, almost shy, really.
Yeah, shy.
Yeah, so I just leave him in there.
Yeah. So are you actually here at the point when they're actually recording and,
Oh, yeah.
and the tracks are going down?
Yeah.
I mean, can you describe what that's like at all? Or
Most of the time it's just a big party.
is it really?
Yeah, they have a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, they're serious about it, but it's still, they have a lot of fun doing it. They really do.
Do you sit in the booth?
Sometimes, yeah. Just like I say, it depends on what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
If it's, if I don't really need to be in there, I don't go in because it's
Right.
easier.
Right.
Fewer people in the room makes it easier for
Mm-hmm.
me. So I
Mm-hmm.
just stay out unless they need me for something.
Right. Mm-hmm. So basically, then you were involved mainly with the 1984 record.
Yeah, I worked with Don on the Diver Down album also, and helped on that a little bit.
Is your name on the album?
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah.
What did you do?
I was second engineer on that, and Don and I did all the mixes and things.
Really?
Yeah.
Was Ed there for mixing? Is he?
No, not on that one. Not that I recall.
I mean, had you been a Van Halen fan? I mean, did you know about his earlier work?
I'd heard the other records because of working at Warner Brothers, and,
Mm-hmm.
and I did mastering and things there also. Lacquers, cutting master lacquers.
Oh, you
and
did?
So
Of their records?
some of their stuff, recuts on them, and I think I mastered one of them a long time ago.
Do you know which one?
I don't remember what it was now. I really don't.
Do you remember when the
But,
first Van Halen record came out? Do you remember having a reaction to it? I mean, did you think?
I liked it. Yeah, I liked it. There was so many. I heard so many people at the company. I didn't really just sit down and
Mm-hmm.
I've never been that way. I've never. Oh yeah, this is the greatest I've ever heard or anything. But I like the music. But I'm straight. I like all kinds of music anyway. I'm weird. I mean, I can go from Van Halen to Waylon Jennings or something.
Right.
Country western.
Right.
I like everything.
Right.
Or classical, any of it. So I can't really say that I'm one way or the other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hmm. I mean, was there a mood in the studio when they were doing 1984? I mean, were things still pretty together? Could you sense
Oh, yeah.
split?
No, not at that point.
Was
It didn't seem like. I mean, I wouldn't have thought anything then.
Really?
Yeah. Everybody seemed real happy, and it was going along good.
I mean, generally, how would you describe the relationship between Edward and Dave?
It was okay. There were little moments. I mean, I don't say it was the best I've ever seen,
Mm-hmm.
but there were moments when it was. It seemed to be all right. They got along. They seemed to handle each other, I guess, really.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think it's always something that's always been there.
Yeah.
Two different personalities,
Oh yeah.
Wartime.
Hmm. So was Ted up here for 1984?
Yeah.
He was.
Yeah, the whole thing.
I mean, I get a sense that it was Ted was there maybe more for Dave. Don was kind of there for Edward. And it was kind
I think that's what happened through part of it. The end of 1984 got a little hairy. You know, there were some things between Ted and the band. Dave seemed a little insecure without Ted here. He wanted him, he felt like he needed Ted for the singing part. And the band felt like Ted was good. I mean, he's an excellent producer. He really is. But they felt that they had some input that wasn't, being used or whatever, I guess, at the time. And there was a little tenseness right towards the very end of it.
There was.
Yeah.
Do you think the album would have been what it was without Ted?
No, I don't know. I personally give more credit to Don, Ed, and Al on that album. I really do. I think they basically produced it.
Really?
Yeah.
Al has a lot of input.
Oh yeah, yeah. He does on some things. He's real good. He's very vocal about it. And he speaks up, says what he wants. So. And I think they respect that too. But I think, in all honesty, at least in my opinion, I think it was basically those guys that produced the album. The mixes, all the final mixes that were actually used for the record were done here. At that point, Ted didn't want to work here. He wanted to go to another studio and mix. He felt that this place was not state-of-the-art enough to do the mixes. And he mixed at Sunset Sound, and they mixed here. Ed and Don mixed here, and everything that ended up on the record was what was done here.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a fact.
Yeah, none of the mixes from Sunset were ever used.
Were the mixes here actually better?
I think so. I think it sounds almost conceited, but I really believe that I think it's the best sounding album they've ever done.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Sound-wise and everything.
Right.
Yeah, I think the whole thing is by far above any of them.
Yeah. I was just down at the Pacific Amphitheater last night. Brian Adams, and they played the whole 1984 album.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Wow.
And they played Drop Dead Legs, and it was just... I mean, the dimension of his guitar was just... I just couldn't
The whole
believe it.
album, and like I said, I worked at Warner's, and I was there when Don and I did the Diver Down album. I thought that was good, but this thing just by far outshines all of them.
Yeah,
And Sunset, where they did all the stuff before, all the previous albums, was an excellent studio, and still is. But there's something about this one that just... The whole thing just pops out.
Yeah.
That's proven by the sales, too. I mean, it turned out to be their best sales album ever.
By far.
Yeah. First time they've ever gotten a gold single.
Really?
Yeah.
For Jump?
For Jump. That's the first gold single they've ever had. So that's... Speaks a lot for it, too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, could you tell that they felt they had something special? They'd gone the next level, the next step here when it was done?
I think so, in a way, yeah. I mean, all through it at times, some of the things... Jump, the very first even demo of that was amazing.
Yeah.
It was just one of those songs that you couldn't get away from. And everybody felt it. Everybody that heard it just loved it.
I understand Dave didn't love it.
Yeah, he was a little standoffish, I guess. But, I don't know. And what is it? Not Drop Dead Legs. I can't think of. One of the other ones is an old song they'd done years ago.
House of Pain.
House of Pain, yeah.
Right.
They never used on anything. Put that on the album. It turned out good.
Yeah, it's great. What about Mike? I mean, what is his function?
He's there. During a lot of the albums, he didn't do an awful lot, but he's gotten even more now. He seems to be, he's really in there too.
I mean, Ed says that Mike's even playing better.
I agree.
Think so?
I think his bass playing has increased amazing. And some of the things they've just been doing right now, Ed and all of us just stand there. I mean, he has really come up, yeah. And I think even in his own mind, he knows in some respects. I mean, he was a good bass player, but not really considered, hot. I mean, he was there. And I think a lot of the stuff that's been happening, I think people will be surprised.
Do you think it's the absence of Dave that maybe he can breathe easier? I mean,
No, not necessarily. I don't know. It may be some of that. I don't know. I can't speak for him, so I'm not sure. I don't think so. I think it's just maybe he's got more confidence in himself.
Yeah.
Feels better about it. He sure is playing better.
Yeah. Oh, what about Alex?
Alex, I think, has been good, but I think the 1984 album really proved he's a drummer, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, he played some great stuff on that. And in the new stuff, too, even like I said, that they're doing. Don came in one day, he says, boy, you should hear what Mike and Al played.
Really?
I mean, boy, he commented on both of them. He says, it's great. I've never heard him play like that.
Really?
That may be the more relaxed atmosphere now, but I mean, on the 84 album, I think Al played some great stuff.
Yeah.
He really did.
Yeah.
really came around with it too.
What about the way that Don and Ed get on? I think it's a pretty
That's a
unique
crazy
kind of relationship there.
That is, yeah, that really is. Those two were tighter than anybody I've ever seen.
Yeah.
That's an amazing one. Don seems to be able to do things with Ed that other people can't get out of Ed. They seem to hit it off somehow. He can get inside there and talk to him or something.
Yeah.
You know, that other people haven't been able to do.
I mean, will Don actually sit down with Ed and maybe describe or suggest a little guitar type of a little break or a line?
Usually they'll work together on the solos and stuff. They will put a bunch of things down, and Don and Ed will work out exactly what they're using. And Don is a very big part of that. He helps Ed arrange a lot of the stuff. They really sit down and talk the whole thing out. There's nothing. It's not just this is the way it's going to be.
Right.
And Don's an incredible one himself.
Oh yeah.
He's a little stubborn, a little shy too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. Ed had told him once that he tends to be attracted to in his term, the ugly ducklings of the world. Those kind of one-off types, the insecure, paranoid types.
Yeah.
And, that's what those,
They are.
Not being offensive to either one, but that's what they are.
No, I know. They really are.
And I mean, maybe in your own way, maybe that's
I
what
am
you
too,
are.
yeah.
In my own way, and that's,
it is true. If you really compare all of us and think about it, yeah.
It's not those.
We're not the big
campus GQ.
Flamboyant loonies, or the GQ thing, exactly.
That's why I'm trying to let people know what 5150 is and what the atmosphere is like, and it's a very closed little
it's
orbit.
A family. It's a little family that, it is. It's hard to get into in some ways. I think it's real strange. It is that closed little thing, but they're extremely honest people. Everybody's really honest with each other. They say what they're thinking.
Yeah.
There was a time a while back where I was screwing off real bad. I was, I just vegged out, and Ed came up to me and told me he didn't like it. And I turned to him and said, you're right, I'm a flake right now. But I mean, it's a neat feeling being able to do that, to be able to talk to somebody and it's not like, hey, jerk, or you're fired or this or that.
Right.
Just honest talking. And you can't beat that. Can't ask for a better relationship.
He is honest.
Extremely, yeah. I think sometimes for some people he's too honest.
Yeah.
He scares them because he just says what he's thinking.
Yeah, he does.
He'll just blap out with it. Some people don't know how to handle that.
Yeah.
And he doesn't mean harm by it at all.
No, he doesn't.
Not in the least.
Because I think it's been said to him so many times that he's aware of what feelings are. And
oh yeah, he's a very deep feeling person himself.
He is.
He really is. But that's just him. But it is a family thing. It really has been. That's what's been so much fun about it too.
I mean, would that be your best description of 5150?
I think somewhat. It's just I guess the family thing. Everybody is. They're real. There's arguments. Families are going to argue. Brothers and sisters will argue with each other. That's just natural. But there's none of the badness of the craziness either.
Right. I think there's 3 ways to do things: the right way, the wrong way, and the 5150 way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think we're gods or anything else. I don't mean that. We're not. We don't have all the answers to everything. But I think the way things have been done, it's a mutual thing. Everybody agrees with the way it goes, and it's not one-sided. I've worked at studios where either the manager or whoever, head of maintenance or something, always dictates the way things go.
Really?
And that is the only answer. It doesn't matter what the staff feels as engineers, this is what we would like to see as equipment. That has no bearing on it. It just goes one way and that's it. And here, everybody talks over everything.
Yeah.
Don is basically above me, no question about it, But even when he buys stuff, machines or something, say, well, what do you think of this? You think this is a good one? Should we get this or should we try something else? And the final decision then is in fact his. But he still comes and asks me about it, And he's the one that's really using all the equipment most of the time.
Right.
So it's a neat feeling. I mean, it's not like, I'm the boss, you do what I say, and that kind of thing.
Right.
That's what's been nice for me.
Right.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah. I mean, does Ed have much of a working knowledge at all of gear or studio equipment?
A little. He understands it very fast. He doesn't really know a lot, but if you sit down and show him, he learns extremely quick.
He does?
Yeah. He really can pick it up real fast.
I mean, does Ed ever do any hands-on at all?
Some of it.
He does?
A little, off and on, yeah. He plays with it.
You mentioned before that it's that you don't have all the answers, but I think that people sense that 5150 is something magic. There's something magical that happens here, and obviously it does, to my mind.
Yeah, I think we don't. Like I said, it's not that we're gods and we know everything and this and that state of the art is quote bad. But I think it's just done to make it sound right. We don't look at, whether a console or a tape machine is nice looking and
Right.
has all the magic flashing lights and buzzers.
Right.
It has to sound good.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what you're putting out as a record.
Right.
They're not buying a picture of your tape machine, with the saying, well, it does this and the signal and noise is this. People don't care about that.
Right.
They want a record that sounds good. And the best way to do that is use the right equipment for it.
So it wasn't anything conscious on Don's part to break away from the Warner's, corporate thing, or
He's not trying to stand out as some
rebel.
A rebel. No, it was equipment that he felt sounded proper, and it worked well. And I believe the track record shows that. You can't argue with the album.
Yeah.
You can't argue with that at all.
Yeah.
And like I say, it's not a thing of trying to be different than everybody or any of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was stuff that worked and sounded good.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see any rebellion there in any way.
Right. So can you talk about maybe some of the more interesting moments of 5150, things that stand out for any particular reason, either good or bad? I mean, just
trying to think of something. I don't know what it would be in particular, as far as that goes. I think most of the people that come up here really, their first impression when they walk in and see it, it doesn't look
like they think it's going
to. Yeah, they figure, here's this, rich recording artist, Mr. Millionaire or whatever.
Right.
He's going to have the latest and greatest and fancy and all that, and they walk in and it's a little funky looking. But the minute you play them something, they forget all that.
Yeah.
It just disappears.
Yeah.
And that's interesting. That first impression scares them, and as soon as they hear something, it just turns completely around. They don't even see the studio anymore.
Right. Yeah. How is it that someone would become part of the 5150 family? I mean, can you sense how that osmosis kind of thing
I don't know. Ed and Don, like I say, my involvement was really through Don, actually. Ed and Don had worked, on all the albums together, so they knew each other, and they got their relationship going that way. And Don and I, through Warner Brothers, and then when that came along, I worked sometimes at Warner's. For a while, I worked in maintenance, where they were taking care of the studios there also. And I was one of the few guys that Don could communicate with in the maintenance department. If he had a problem, Don will hear something a lot of people don't hear it, so they say it's not there. And that's not really true. You can't take that attitude.
Right.
And I found that 99.9% of the time, what he heard was there.
Yeah.
And it does exist. And I always took that attitude with him, and I think that's why he and I got along. So I came in through him that way. Because we could communicate with each other, and I always knew that, if there was something there, it probably was there.
Right. Yeah.
I found times when it wasn't, but that's rare.
Yeah. So Don does have good ears.
Yeah, just everything. I mean, he really does. If he feels something isn't right or something, you can check it and you'll find out that he probably is right. There probably is something wrong there, and that's like I said. I think that's why we seem to communicate. I don't sit around and pretend like I'm Mr. Technical and Mr. Numbers, and that if he says there's a problem, I'll go check it.
Yeah. Could you talk a little bit about the disintegration of the band? I mean, what had happened? What
I don't
caused it to?
It would only be opinions, and I don't know if that's even right. I think when Ed did the movie thing, I think maybe Dave got a little jealous. Dave seems to like to be in the forefront. He likes to be in front of everybody, and I think when Ed did that movie thing, I think that
the soundtrack.
Yeah,
Wildlife.
I think that may have gotten to Dave a little bit, and then Dave decided to do his own videos. Try those, or that little EP that he did. And he got a taste of it, and it seemed to be successful, and all of a sudden he decided he wanted to do more. And he got nominated for directing or whatever the Van Halen videos, which in my own opinion I don't think was fair, because Al had an awful lot to do with those, I know for a fact.
Really?
And Al was there for all the editing sessions and everything. He really was. I think Alex should have got a lot more credit on that than he did, but he just didn't ask for it. Dave took the credit, and I think after that he decided he was David Lee Spielberg or something.
Did you get along with Dave?
Yeah, I never had any real problems with it. I wasn't I didn't have to deal with him that much.
Yeah, just up here.
Yeah, just here and every once in a while, if I'd go out on the road or something to check something for Ed, he was there. But I never really had a problem with him. I guess personally, I disagreed with some of his things, but there again, we're just people.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, could you sense that he was the type of person that Ed probably wouldn't be attracted to, you know, as a friend? You know?
I would. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think there are different personalities completely. Dave has gotten out of it a little bit. And I don't know. It was. Yeah, well, I think it was a good business situation for a long time. I think the band, you know, worked well. But I still think Dave got out of hand with it. I don't think Ed and Dave could ever really get along.
No.
I think they're just two opposites.
Yeah.
It'd be hard to tie those two together.
Yeah.
If you did, you'd have to tie them together.
I just don't think Dave ever gave Edward the credit that he really deserved.
No,
I think.
I think Dave was a little wrapped up in himself, and he couldn't see it in anybody else.
Yeah. So
I think he missed a lot of it that way.
Yeah. So I mean, what do you feel about them not working together?
I don't know. I don't think it'll be any problem. I think it's going to work out good. I think it'll be actually maybe a little bit more freedom for them, because they were somewhat locked into Dave's style of singing and things.
Yeah.
You know, not that. I mean, he was good at what he did. I liked his voice. I thought he was really good at it. But if they wanted to make any changes and go more melodic or something, I don't know. I think it would be hard for Dave.
Right. Very hard.
Yeah. I don't think he could have handled that. I don't think that would be fair to either one in that case, really. So I think this will give them a little bit more freedom. They can still be Van Halen and still be, you know, the quote heavy metal, if you want to call it that.
Yeah. Right.
I never thought of them as heavy metal in some ways. I always thought they were rock and roll.
Yeah.
I couldn't get into the, you know.
They still will be Van Halen?
As far as I know, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, from what I understand, that's what they want to do.
And Sammy is working?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. They love it. They've been having a great time with that.
Is Sammy playing any guitar?
No, not at the moment. Somebody made a comment the other day about that. Is Sammy going to play? And Ed's comment was, you know, not really. If Ed was playing keyboards, he might.
Right.
You know, Sammy might get up and play guitar with that part, but I think it's still basically Ed playing guitar.
What is the new music like?
I haven't heard a lot of it. They've been working on a couple things. It's still Van Halen. It really is. I think Sammy's going to work well, though. The voice fits.
Does it?
Yeah.
It's hard for me to
hear
it, you know?
You have to hear him move over to what they're doing.
Yeah.
Ed's kind of writing, and then hear the voice of that, and it still goes well.
Right.
And he really, and it's like I say, it's great to see him so happy, though, because all of them they're always smiling and laughing a lot. And before, there was a little bit, almost too much business with it. It was still fun, but at times it would get real rough. And I haven't seen it that way with these guys. Yeah,
I just talked to Ed Friday. In fact, right after I came up from here, he called me as soon as I got back home.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard him in such good spirits
in a
long time.
Yeah, and it's all of them. It's not just, you know, the whole group, all four of them. They laugh, and they come in here. I'll be in here at the bench or something, and they'll all come in and be joking and laughing. Really? And Alex is playing his practical jokes on everybody, and, you know, trying to tie people up and burn them or whatever he can.
Yeah.
But they really get along good.
Huh.
That makes me feel good, because I like those guys. Like I say, more than just, he's not just my boss. They're a personal friend, and it's good to see them happy. Right. It really is.
Yeah. I don't know. I talked to Ed a few times, you know, when all that shit was going down, but I think that Ed was a little, he wasn't worried about what he was going to do, but I think he knew that people were going to be looking. And, you know, I
think Ed was, that may be true too, but I think he was really bummed at the whole situation, though. It was like, all of them have been as a group for like 12 years or whatever. Yeah. I guess he says 12 years. And you put in all that time together, and then one person suddenly, without any warning, really. I mean, he didn't tell him. It was just, because he was actually up here rehearsing with him.
Really?
Yeah, Ed had written a couple of songs, and Dave was just kind of working out lyrics a little bit to it, and then just never showed up again. They said, "Where are you?" And he says, "Well, I'm leaving."
God.
You know, I don't know if that's public record or not.
No, well, Ed told me some of those stories that Dave started coming up with melodies that were rip-offs from Neil Young songs.
Yeah.
And Ed told me this, you know, that
Yeah, I didn't hear that really that much, but I just know that, like I said, he was here. I mean, he was showing up, and they were doing the whole standard rehearsal bit, and then bang, gone. Nobody knew, and that's an awful cold way after you have that many years together as a group. You know, you don't just turn your back and walk.
Yeah, it just makes you feel like the guy was just never really involved.
Well, it seemed like I think it seemed like he was doing a lot of it too from after he did his own EP in the video. I think is when he really started working on things and not letting anybody know what he was doing. You know, just kind of doing it and checking it out, testing the water a little bit for himself, and then decided, okay, I can do it.
Right.
You know, and jump ship, and that's, I don't know. I think it was time for the band to take a little break, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, after this album, maybe do something, but cut it back a little bit.
Yeah.
And if each guy wanted to do something on his own, you know, discuss it as a group that way. That wouldn't have been bad. I think everybody could have done it easy.
Yeah.
But to just duck the way he did was cold.
Yeah. You know, and everybody forgets that he was releasing an EP as a singer for Van Halen now.
Yeah.
Dave Roth, as a new artist, releasing those songs, what would have happened? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it was I mean, the production of the record was great. I mean, I can't deny that. I've never been a fan, to be honest, between you and me, of Dave's voice.
Yeah.
But, you know, what he does well. And
yeah, he does. I kind of like his voice in some ways, I think, because it is a little different than a lot of them. I don't know. It was just kind of cold the way it all came about.
Yeah. I guess time will tell.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I think Dave had something to prove, and I don't really think Ed, in his
I think that's what it is. Dave is trying to prove something to himself and everybody else. And maybe Dave was a little jealous, like I said. I think he may have felt that he wasn't getting the credit that he should deserve, too. Because, you know, it was the band Van Halen, which wasn't his name. And sure, he was the lead singer, but you look at all the magazines, and there was an awful lot of pictures of Ed in there, you know.
Yeah.
You know, Ed got a lot of credit that Dave felt probably that he deserved.
Yeah. So they're just going to keep working and putting the tunes together. And
yeah, they've been doing that.
I had heard that Van Halen owed Warner's one last album.
I don't know about any of the contractual stuff with Warner's and such. I'm not real sure. Yeah. I don't know even if they did it, if they could, you know, with Dave gone, or were they going to do it?
Right, I mean, once the band breaks up, I'm sure the contract has to be null and void.
Yeah, they can't really force them, you know, tie them up, beat them up or something, say you sing and they all hate each other or something. You know, that wouldn't wouldn't be a smart idea.
Right.
Hey, Tone Chasers, how are you? Look, guys, I hope you dug the interview. Listen, I know a lot of you have written and left comments and you have dug the interview. If you'd like to show your appreciation, I would really love a review up on Amazon. Just go to Amazon. You can type in Tone Chaser. You'll find my page. If you didn't buy the book on Amazon, it's cool. You can still leave a review. So that's about it, guys. I will talk to you later. Volume 3 is here, T3. So I hope you guys have your copies. And if not, you can go check it out on my webpage, tonechaserbook.com. See you, everybody. Thank you. V for Van Halen.